star performers seem more elusive than ever.
There's always going to be employees who have that extra expertise, who have those skill sets that set them apart from their peers.
How do you define a star performer?
Be in tip-top condition.
What do you think has changed today?
Where's the stimulation? Where's the edge? Where's the spark?
Welcome back. We turn now to the workplace 100-meter dash. Let's head to the starting blocks to meet our workplace star competitors. There's Vikas, who's simply perfect in all aspects of his game. Motivated, visionary, and with a great sense of humor to boot. In short, a consummate workplace star. Next, we have Gunther. He's got great AI skills, but is severely lacking in the collaboration department. And here's Cindy. She's super agile when it comes to taking on different roles, but always seems to underdeliver on projects. And in the last lane, we have Jeff. He knows how to bring people together, but his ideas rarely move the needle. Gosh, seems it's much harder than I thought to find a workplace star.
Set.
Hi, I'm Jill Wiltfong, Chief Marketing Officer for Korn Ferry, and this is Briefings, our deep dive into topics that corporate leaders need to care about. The world's shining stars of sport are on full display. But in the world of business, star performers seem more elusive than ever. 7 in 10 CEOs worry that their employees lack the right skills for the future, which is perhaps no surprise given that high performers account for just 5 to 10% of the workforce. One answer might be to develop more stars within an organization, but survey after survey paints corporate training as woeful, with employees routinely labeling it unsatisfactory or inadequate. It's a puzzle that urgently needs to be solved, since gaining a competitive edge today often comes down to having an eye for a star. I'm joined today by Rebecca Kehoe, a professor of human resource studies at Cornell University, who has studied the role of star performers in organizations, and we're going to talk about this one a little bit today. Rebecca, it's really great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
So let's start with some clarity here. It's easy to see who's a star in the 100 meters by timing how fast they run. But when it comes to the workplace, how do you define a star performer? Who is that?
These are your solid, exceptional contributors who are just consistently delivering value for the organization. So what this looks like can vary across context, but stars tend to be known among their colleagues, among their leaders, as those with exceptional expertise. They tend to be pretty well connected because others want to be connected to stars. They want to have the opportunity to work with them, to maybe get some status spillovers from them, maybe to get connected to the stars contacts. So while you're not always in a context where you can say who finished that race before, first or second, you can see who's exceeding expectations, who's excelling, above and beyond their colleagues on a regular basis.
Got it. All right. So of course, I would imagine everybody wants more stars on their team, but hiring them exclusively can get, I imagine, quite expensive, right? Their average salaries are 10, 25% or more above market rate. Besides this kind of possible cost savings, what is the advantage of developing, say, a star internally as opposed to trying to go outside and bring them in?
If you're developing a star internally, you can really specialize their training and development to what the organization needs, right? So if you're hiring a star externally, you're kind of taking what you get, taking their past experiences, their past training, and hoping that it fits well with your organization. Whereas internal development allows you to say, this is exactly the skill set that we're going to need.
Pasta, come on! Pasta, come on!
That was from the movie Chariots of Fire, which is about this real life story of two British athletes in the 1924 Olympics. When it comes to the corporate world, it does seem rare to find hands-on coaching like we saw in that clip there. Nearly 70% of employees say the training, in fact, that employers offer isn't tailored to their needs or to their learning styles. And that's despite U.S. companies with more than 100 employees spending $102 billion on employee training last year. So it's not because there's a lack of effort. Rebecca, why is corporate training missing the mark so much? Are firms just wasting their money?
I don't think there's a clear yes or no answer to that. I think first it's a difference of perspective. So companies are investing in training to make sure that their employees have the skill sets to make the contributions that organizations need today and maybe even tomorrow if they're a little bit more forward looking. That doesn't necessarily always align with an individual employee's personal desire for how I want to learn or for the skills that I want to develop and for my own career goals.
We are also kind of coupling all of this with this midst we're in of this so-called great unbossing. So while we know training's important, we know leadership's important, we also know middle managers are being increasingly let go. How do you think that might affect a company's ability to nurture these star performers? Will there be an impact there?
I think necessarily, yes. I think on one hand, stars probably relative to more average employees, stars are going to be the ones that take more initiative for their own development. But on the other side, leaders are so important in developing a star's attachment to the organization. Organizations aren't going to be okay in terms of retaining stars if they don't have leaders that make stars feel recognized, rewarded, and like they're really kind of have a path forward in the organization that makes them not want to go somewhere else.
Once we have AI, everything's going to change. We're going to develop content faster. People are going to be to look for information and get training directly from the chatbot. We're going to have new ways of training using chat and prompt interfaces, and we're going to have richer and richer VR and other forms of content as well.
That's Global HR Research Advisor Josh Bersin talking about the impact AI will have on training and development. Rebecca, do you think AI will be a game changer that can help companies churn out stars at a faster clip?
I think it will be a game changer, but I don't think it's going to have that impact necessarily. Well, I think that AI is going to increase the training offerings and maybe the quality of development opportunities for employees across the board. So if we're talking about how many stars we end up with, there's always going to be employees who just have that extra expertise, who have those skill sets that set them apart from their peers, that are creating exceptional value. I don't think that the difference between those employees and others is going to change. I think the bar is just going to raise across the board.
Leave me with a prediction. 3 years from now, how do you think our concept of a star will change based on what you see happening in the market today?
I think stars are always going to exist. I think soft skills are also going to be increasingly important. So as AI replaces employees with, routine tasks and tasks that can be more automated, employees are going to create value in ways that are uniquely human, which means that stars, those employees that are creating the most value, are going to have to embrace and excel with those softer skills as well. It's not going to be enough to have the hard skills. The bar for things like working with peers, collaborating, communicating really effectively in empathetic ways is going to be increasingly important because that's what does and will continue to set us apart from AI.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for your time and your thoughtfulness. It'll be an interesting ride.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This has been great.
So we've looked at what it takes to make a star, but after the break, we'll hear from an Olympic silver medalist about how to keep those stars burning bright and not burning out. So stay with us.
Hi, and welcome to This Week in Leadership. I'm Rupak Bhattacharya, and here's a quick look at what else is happening in business.
They replaced a CEO with AI for a week.
AI could one day take over the CEO role. At least that's what 43% of US, UK, and Dutch business leaders say in a recent survey. While we may not be there yet, experts say AI should be raising the bar for what's expected of managers, including the big bosses.
The company announced it's removed 95% of the plastic air pillows it uses in packages shipped in the US.
This year, one of the nation's largest retailers is shifting away from plastic packing pillows to paper ones, removing nearly 15 billion plastic pillows from the shipping ecosystem annually. However, there is some risk involved, as making the leap from plastic to paper pillows requires the building of a new supply chain that could slow the movement of goods.
The summer's newest trend, quiet vacationing.
New data indicates that 1 in 10 employees has taken a quiet vacation in which they take trips and show up virtually for meetings without using any of their personal days. Experts say leaders will need to assess carefully whether workers are in fact shirking responsibilities or still meeting their objectives while working from a nice location. For more insights on business and leadership, head to kornferry.com/insights. Now back to Jill in our episode, I for a Star.
The white flag is up. 8.06 meters. It's a new Olympic record.
With us now is Mark Richardson, a Korn Ferry senior client partner who focuses on top team performance, a subject he would know all about as an Olympic silver medalist in the 4x400 meter relay. Mark, thanks for joining us.
Hey, it's an absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me, Jill.
You bet. So, Mark, that last clip was from Race, a movie about the great Jesse Owens, another phenomenal track and field athlete who won 4 gold medals in the 1936 Olympics. As you well know, performing at such a high level requires intense dedication. But in the corporate world, as we look at our world here, 93% of workers worldwide now prioritize what they call work-life balance. Tell me, was work-life balance something you think would have been possible for you to achieve when training for the Atlanta Olympics?
Yeah, so I think that self-regulation, the ability to self-regulate is really, really important, and it's something that high achievers do exceptionally well. So of course you've got to be on it, you've got to train at maximal effort, you've got to have a high level of intensity, you've got to have a huge level of focus, but you've also got to do interval training. You've got to be paying attention to what your body might need. You've got to make sure that you don't get into the sporting equivalent of executive burnout, and so making sure that you plan in those rests, those breaks, so actually that you can maximize your recovery from sessions and also be in tip-top condition for when you most need it.
In one survey, Mark, half of workers said that they're not trying to progress at their jobs at all, which seems pretty dire. What do you think has changed today that makes moving up the company chain so unappealing for so many people?
Whether you're a parent or a carer, or there's other things that are going on in our spectrums of our life, and some people might think, well, actually I need to ring fence and preserve those and make sure that they're not corrupted. It's quite sad, really, because again I think it links to self-regulation. So it doesn't matter at what level that you're at, actually there's something that's just phenomenal about aspiration. So self-actualization, whatever that looks like, whichever level that you're operating. Yeah. So what does that look like in terms of getting better day by day? And actually, what does that look like when you compound it over, months and years? So having a direction of travel, I think, is really, really important.
If I do something right, it's unacknowledged. She doesn't even say thank you. But if I do something wrong, she is vicious. I would just like a little credit for the fact that I'm killing myself trying.
Ugh, Andy, be serious. You are not trying. You are whining.
That's Anne Hathaway complaining about her harsh boss in the movie The Devil Wears Prada. Mark, younger generations in particular seem to be leading the charge towards more carrot and less stick in how they're managed. But being too slack maybe could lead companies to lose their competitive edge. How can leaders assess where to draw that line?
Yeah, well, if you want to create the conditions for high performance that's sustainable, it's not an either or. This isn't a binary thing. That there's the magic equation is thinking about what's the right level of support, so high support, but also high challenge. So there's something about intellectual challenge. How do you stimulate? Because you don't grow and learn if you're in a comfort zone. You need to be on the upper edge of stretch. You need to be in a place where actually it does feel a bit edgy. It does feel different. It does feel a bit exposing. And as long as you're getting plenty of support that comes with that, and you're getting that balance right, you're helping people to grow and to develop new horizons and new opportunities and learn and develop more. So it's almost quite sad, this notion of I just want lots and lots of carrot, because where's the stimulation? Where's the edge? Where's the spark? And I think you need both.
It seems only fitting, Mark, that I end by asking if you were to compete as a young athlete, would the knowledge and experience that you've gained as a consultant on top team performance change the way you train, or do you think you would stick to the program that you used in the past?
Oh, I've definitely changed the way I train, or used to train. Yeah, without question. So it's something about progression, evolution, just the scientific methodology that they use. So yeah, I would have radically restructured things, and I think it would have kept me healthy for longer as well.
Interesting. Well, very interesting conversation. Thank you so much for being here. It's always great to have you on.
Oh, thank you so much. Absolute pleasure.
The executive producer of Briefings is Jonathan Dahl. Today's episode was produced by Rupak Bhattacharya, Nadira Putri, and Teresa Allen, and it was edited by Jaron Henry McRae. It contains reporting by Russell Perlman, Ariane Cohen, and Peter Loria. Our video segment contains original artwork by Fraser Milton, Haley Kennel, Jonathan Pink, and Sasha Kotschik. Don't forget to read our magazine, available at newsstands and at kornferry.com/briefings. That's it for Korn Ferry Briefings. I'm Jill Wiltfong. See you next time.
Is that better? Okay, sorry, Jill.
That's okay. You can't breathe during this whole segment.